Hi everybody, I would like to introduce you to my funny little garden. I'm not a very good gardener because I'm learning how to garden, and this is my first garden as a grown-up that I've ever made. And so the first thing I want to show you are my zinnias. And the reason I like my zinnias is because they remind me of the first lady I ever knew who grew zinnias, and her name was Shirley Brong. She was married to George. And she loved George so much, and she grew zinnias all over her yard every year, and they were beautiful. So I think of my friend Shirley when I look at the zinnias and how much she loved her husband. And something else I have in my garden I want to show you, and I'm going to kind of swoop my phone over a little bit so don't get seasick. But over here I have a tomato plant. And actually, Mr. Dan was the one who brought this tomato plant home, and we've already eaten some of the tomatoes off of it, and they taste really good, and we're enjoying them. And then, next to that, I have some lettuce growing, and I've already cut some leaves off of this lettuce, and we've eaten them, and they've been pretty good. And then I've got a pepper plant and another pepper plant, and those are going pretty well too. Now the funny thing is, I can't remember if these are banana peppers or bell peppers, so if somebody knows and they want to call and tell me, that would be great. So I'm going to swoop back over here, and I want to tell you a little story about something that happened in the front of my garden. In the very front of my garden a few weeks ago, and you may have seen this happen at your house too, something like this, see these little guys, landed. Oh, look at them blowing away. They are made to fly. You may have seen these in your own yard. We call them helicopters, and they come out of the maple trees and they spin and they swirl around, and I had to put this pot over it to keep them from flying away so I could show you. But one of them landed in my front garden under a coral bell. Now, I didn't know it, but that little maple tree, who was right here, started to grow. And I found him the other day, and when you have a flower garden and you see these things, you usually think of them as weeds. So I pulled him out. But then I looked at him, and he had this long root, and I thought, I wonder if I could plant that little maple and if it would grow. So just for fun, I came over and put it in this pot of dirt, and maybe someday I'll get a maple tree out of it. I don't know, but it's worth a try. But it made me think of how when this little maple tree right here outgrows this pot, I'm going to take it down to some land we have on the Rockcastle River, and I'm going to plant it down there because that's a really wonderful place for a maple tree. And that made me think about how in Psalms it talks about God planting us like a tree beside the water that grows strong and tall, and that made me really happy. And so these are just a couple of little observations from my garden that make me think about how God works and how He uses things in nature to teach us about Himself.